Impact of Influence.
Covering true crime throughout the Southeast.
And that's when I was like, I told my husband, I said, go back, go back, go back. And when my husband went back, I looked at the towel in there. I kind of like paused it right there. And I said, oh my God, I said, he did it.
That is the voice of Blanca Simpson, housekeeper and friend to the Murdaugh family. This is part 2 of our interview. Hello, friend. Matt Harris and Seton Tucker. If they want to get a hold of us,
You can find us on Facebook at Impact of Influence and also on our YouTube channel.
And this is part 2, as I just mentioned a second ago. This will dive more into the day of the murders and the fallout afterward. You are going to hear Blanca, and you'll hear another voice. That's her co-author.
Yes, Fran.
And we will let you judge for yourself. Enjoy.
Let's go to the day of the murders. How did your day start, and what was your interaction with the family that day?
The day started with a phone call when she called me and told me, asked me to go by the store and pick up some Capri Suns because Alex wanted Capri Suns. So she said apple, orange, or pineapple, whatever flavors, and I was.
And that's what he typically drank.
Capri Suns, Promise Land, the chocolate milk, the strawberry milk.
Interesting, a choice
a little
for
kid,
an adult man.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I mean, she would buy him Fruit Loops and Fruity Pebbles and all kinds of kid cereal, the Corn Pops or whatever, and he would add sugar to them.
Jeez,
But he would eat them. Those were his snacks. He would always have a bunch of wrappers on the side table next to his bed because he would candy all the time, snacks. You know, the Belvita, what is it, biscuits or whatever, the blueberry and the ones with blueberry. She would get all kinds. There was a section where the round table was in the little kitchen nook that they had. She would always have snacks, and he would just get what he wanted. She always had candy, snacks, all that for him because he just ate candy all the time, all kinds of sweets and stuff.
So you're running to the store for them in the morning. You got the text
Uh-huh.
to the store, and then you came back, and was Alec there when you got back?
Yeah, he was there. Maggie, I had just missed Maggie. I think we talked when she asked me, and then I texted her back. I said, hey, they got whatever flavor I got. I said, but they don't have the other one. She said, that's okay. I'll look around when I'm out in the town. And we missed each other. We passed each other. But I didn't
Talk to her.
I didn't actually, we spoke on the phone. I didn't actually see her.
So you're at the house now, and Alec is getting ready to go to work, I assume.
No. When I got to the house, Alex was still in the bed.
Oh, what time is this?
Watching about 10 at that point because I had to go by the store. Okay. Yeah, it's about 10. He's in there. And I walked through the door. He's like, hey, B, I'm in the bed. He said, I'm just trying to get, a little bit of rest. I didn't think nothing of it because I know he'd been dealing with his dad. And that was usually what he did. The last 2 months before they got killed, Alex spent a lot of time. He didn't keep his regular hours, at the office. I know there were several times where they had to call him and say, hey, Alec, your client's here. He said, oh, I'm on my way. He hadn't even gotten out of bed yet.
Well, did you notice anything amiss at the house or, anything that stuck out in your mind in retrospect that seemed off?
Alec was just, he was into a lot of the crime shows. He would watch even the movies, certain movies. Maggie was more into whatever her sister recommended, especially like certain shows that if her sister liked it, she would kind of watch it and do that. Alec was more into like the crime shows, the movies about like attorneys, kind of like Blue Bloods, Criminal Minds, anything dealing, movies like that with like even mafia guys and stuff like that. So he watched a lot of that.
But that morning there was just
It was nothing unusual. That was just the way he was. I didn't think nothing of it.
And then you saw him before he left, if I remember.
Yes.
Yes, because you talked about what he was wearing when he left, I think, is one of the things.
And then he lied and said that basically I was a liar. I didn't know I guess that wasn't what he was wearing.
For those who weren't at the trial thing, he claimed he was wearing something. What did you say he was wearing?
I said he was wearing a polo shirt, and he had put a jacket, a blazer over it, and his khaki pants were all wrinkled up. It looked like he had worn them a couple of days, to tell you the truth. And he was putting on his shoes and grabbing the stuff off the top of there was a chest of drawers right there in the living room on the way out when you walked out of the master bedroom. I don't know if you've seen the pictures where the turtles are right above, there's a lamp or something, and then you see the little turtles on the wall. There's a dresser.
Oh, yeah.
Right there. Yeah. He used to set his stuff on top of that dresser, and I used to just kind of like put his shoes to the side right next to the dresser where he would slide his shoes on his way out and grab his stuff and go.
What he say?
In that morning, he was trying to say he was wearing what he was wearing when he was at the tree with Paul, when they were laughing about that tree.
Okay, yeah, so like a t-shirt and whatever, yeah.
It was that fishing style shirt.
Yeah, that's right.
Like
that's right.
Columbia, one of those type.
Like so,
well, he said it was Vinnie Vines.
Oh, that's
right.
And that's what he called it, because it could be either or. And I think I should have described it a little bit better when I was in court, but I didn't. I just, I guess I didn't think about it later. Instead of saying, Columbia shirt, I should have said fishing style shirt. And I never, and I never corrected that. And I think that's where a lot of people were confused.
But even if he left the house.
Oh, I don't think people. I think you explained it well.
And if he left the house and one thing and comes back and meets with Paul, I mean, it's not really that huge of a detail, is it? I mean, really, we see that what he's wearing when he's doing that, what he left for work for, not a major thing. So you see that is the last time you have interaction with them, or they're texting
on that day, yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes. On that day it was. But I don't see
nothing else seemed amiss at the property. Like Alex finally leaves. Anything else seem off at all at the property?
Weird trucks, cars, things like the bicycle in a weird place. Any of that stuff. Everything else seems normal. No,
that happened afterwards.
Oh.
That all the weirdness with the vehicles and all that happened afterwards. It wasn't on that day. There was a lot of confusion about vehicles.
There's a lot of vehicles on that property. It sounds like
with some testimony that was given. There was a lot of it created a lot of confusion, which I guess to each their own. Whatever you want to, whatever they want to believe, that's up to them. All I know is what I saw, and
you get the call.
I'm not gonna deviate from what I saw that day.
Yeah.
You get the call that night.
No, sir. I got the call in the morning.
Oh, okay. You get the call in the morning.
I didn't know.
And you're obviously distraught. You're a mess. Did they ask you to come over, or do you decide?
Who calls you and what do they say?
Alex called me that morning, and when it was kind of odd because he called me kind of early, and usually Alex didn't really call me in the morning. It was usually Maggie. So when I got the call from Alex, I picked up the phone. I said, well, maybe Maggie's phone's dead and she's calling me from Alex's phone, because she did do that at times. And Alex, I could hear Alex like really distraught on the line. And then he said, B, they're gone, B, they're gone. And I'm like, to this day, I can still remember I said, did they go back to, I was thinking, did they go back to Edisto? He's like, no, B, they're dead. Paul and Maggie are dead. And I guess for a few minutes, I didn't really realize what happened. I remember my husband giving me the phone, because I guess I dropped it. Because I was getting ready to go at that moment. to go to Moselle. I was doing my usual routine. My husband came in the kitchen, got, a cup of coffee or whatever, and I was getting ready. And there was nothing that would have even given me a sign that something like that had happened. I didn't know.
Does Alex say, "Can you
After
come on over? Can you?"
No, I told him.
Oh, you
I
told him you're
told
going.
him when
Okay.
he told me that, I said, "Where are you at?" He said, we're Mama and Daddy's house. He said, "Almeda." I said, "Okay." I said, "I'll be right over." And I finished getting dressed and I headed over to Almeda to check on him and check on Buster at that point. And, at that point, there was no inclination that Alex could have done that. There was not even the thought didn't even cross my mind.
And how was Paul? How was Alec acting at that point?
When I walked through the door, when he came through from the hallway into the den, he saw me and he started crying and he hugged me. And then Buster came over and he hugged me and he cried. But then he kind of, cleaned up his tears and went over to the side, which I knew, I know Buster to do that. He does not like showing his emotions. And he was trying to be strong for his dad because Alec was distraught. Alec was he was crying uncontrollably. He would try to say things, and it's almost like when a child throws a temper tantrum and they're crying so much that they can barely get the words out in a high pitch. That's how he was. That's the best way to describe it.
And you think it
So
was like genuine emotion at this point? Or do you
I
feel like there was
yeah,
acting?
And what's he
yeah.
wearing at that point?
That morning he was just wearing a pair of khakis and just a polo shirt.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did you end up going to Moselle? How did that transpire?
When I checked on them, I said, "Well, what do you need me to do?" And he said, "Will you go over to Moselle and just take care of it? Straighten up." He said, "Because Maggie's parents are coming and Marion's coming, the family's coming." He said, "And I don't want him to see the house, in disarray. He said, "Can you just straighten it out the way you know how Maggie liked it?" I said, "Yeah, sure, no problem." I really wasn't concerned about anything at that point. My concern was for her parents that were coming, and they were already distraught, from what had happened. Her
Were you
sister was the same
scared?
way.
Were you scared at all to go?
No.
And
Mm-mm.
when you walk into the place, what is there anything like immediately jumps out, or in retrospect, like I know that you said there, I think there was some bowls around, a little bit of cleaning up in the kitchen. And is there any
Mm.
cops in the place?
There was one police officer as you're driving up to the house. There was a vehicle to the right hand side by the last tree in the driveway
That's
that
it.
was sitting there. That
That's
was
it.
it. Hmm.
But there's a
And then
murder. There's a murderer on the loose at this point. You're not scared?
no,
Maybe you're just probably in
You're
shock.
trying to
I,
probably
I,
go through
I
everything.
didn't. It didn't. At that point, I don't think the thought ever really crossed my mind um, that somebody could be out there. It just didn't. I think you're right. I probably was. This is the first time I've ever been asked that. And going back to think about it, I'm like, I don't know what I was thinking.
Well, I mean, you're trying to. You've got a lot going on in your head right there.
And
Yeah,
First of all, and
you're
second of all,
concerned with making everything okay for the family.
I was more concerned with Miss Kennedy. Miss Kennedy had just had surgery, and making her comfortable, make sure the house was, intact. So when they came through, they didn't see anything out of order. Um,
was there anything out of order? Was there any messes or anything that were unusual or weird?
when I first pulled up, I can tell you that I'm just gonna say when I always have a habit of when I pulled up to the house. That was one thing that I did do. and I did it all the time when I pulled up in the morning, is check the tire tracks on the property. Um, in the morning, usually the way that it fell on the grass, I could kind of tell if Alec had left early or if one of the boys had left because of the parking. So I looked at that and I was like, well, you could see the tire marks, but you didn't see any fresh ones. It was the police car had been sitting there for a while because there was no marks or anything, but there was no fresh tracks. And you could tell the way you would drive in and out, you could see the marks on there, and especially when they're fresh. So I knew nobody had been at the house. So I fumbled with the keys. I looked around, like I said, I looked at some things in the front yard, and then I pulled the keys out. I turned off my truck. I got out of my truck and I walked through the front door. After fumbling with the keys, I don't even know why I walked through the front door. I could have gone in through the kitchen, but I think at that point I couldn't remember the code to the door because I was still kind of,
Oh yeah.
yeah. So I started fumbling with the keys and I finally got the front door open. I walked in and I closed the door behind me. And that's when it hit me. That Maggie was never coming back, and neither was Paul. And it's like you can kind of, in your mind, you imagine, seeing Paul walk out. What up, Miss B? Because that was what he used to do. And I'd be hollering at him about, boy, you left your clothes up here all over the place. Yeah. And he would laugh, And Maggie would walk out and she had some house shoes. They were just clunky, but she would walk out just like, hey, what's up, chickadee? Or whatever. That was her. She had several nicknames, but that was the main one. But I knew that wasn't going to happen anymore. And it was really, it's hard to process when you just talk to her. And, we're sitting here talking about Capri Suns and all that. And we talked, like I said, throughout the day, about cooking for Paul. And then I walked through that door and I realized that I will never see her again. And I will never see Paul.
That's heavy.
And Alex even though the house was kept on cold, 69 degrees is what the house used to be on. But for some reason, it's like that morning, once it hit me that I was never going to see him, it's like this chill. I don't even know how to express the chill that I felt, like the coldness that I felt. And to this day, I have never experienced, a chill like that. And when I walked in, like I said, the only thing I heard was the ice maker dropping ice. And the ice maker was dropping the ice on and I could hear it. I heard it I must have stood there a few minutes because I heard it twice, maybe more than that, but I do remember twice where it made the ice and it dropped it in the container. But I started looking around and I was like, There was no plates in the living room. There was no cups. There was no spit cup on the table. There was nothing. It was clean. And
That's
then,
unusual. Like that's
yeah, it is.
okay.
It is. That was very unusual. Usually they ate dinner most of the time. There would be at least one plate, with a silverware and, a cup left in the living room, if not more. But there was nothing. And then I turned and looked over. I walked in a little bit more. Once I passed that wall, I looked over to the right where the stove was, and I didn't see the pots on the stove. And that was unusual. I was like, what happened to the pots?
They normally wouldn't clean up after dinner. So that whatever they had dinner the next day, you'd see there.
The majority of the time, it depended on what the meal was and how much she cooked. Sometimes she would split it before, and she would put some of it away,
Mhm.
for later on or whatever. She would freeze it. But the majority of the time, it was just a meal for them or whatever. It would just stay there because there was hardly anything left in the pots. Usually the next day. So that would, to me, the pots not being on the stove was like, who was here? Who did this? Because I know Alex wouldn't have done it.
So are you getting a
And
little bit creepy feeling at this point?
yeah, and I had no idea that there was people in the house the night before. I didn't know. I
Oh,
didn't know that
so the
anybody had been
people
in
in
the
the
house.
house might have cleaned up the people in the house from the night before because you knew Alec wasn't going to clean up and Paul wasn't probably going to clean up. So now
Mm.
you're starting to put two and two together
Yeah, I was like,
eventually.
somebody was here. Who did? When I said who did this, I was serious. I'm like, who the? That's not the term that I use, but I was like, who the heck did this? Because I knew their routine basically. So I was like, this is not normal for them.
Was other
Mm.
things cleaned up or was like because the kitchen was cleaned up so people went into the house and that's where they're going to gather so maybe they're like just like a busy
It
work.
seemed like there was a couple of plates in the sink, some silverware in the sink. Um, the pots were with the lids, and they put them in the refrigerator. So
Oh.
I knew definitely Maggie had not done that because that's just not it. She would have probably used a plastic, ware or whatever to put the extra food or whatever, if she had to do it. And I was like, that definitely is, that was unusual,
And the rest of
you
the
know.
house, like when you wandered through the rest of the house, with the rest of the house clean, like the rest of the house.
When I when I went through the kitchen, to the left is the laundry room, and there is an exit door to the back porch. The first thing I noticed when I turned to the left, there was a shelf right there where they used to keep like some of the tableware, and then on the top was a basket where they kept the bread and some other things, rolls and all of that. She used to keep it there. But the door to exit the house to the back porch, and then right next to that is the exit to, well, not the exit, the door entrance to the laundry room. But when I turned, the first thing that caught my eye was Maggie's pajamas on the floor in the doorway of the laundry room.
And that caught your eye because if
And
she had
that's,
worn
she
them,
didn't
she
do
would
it.
have,
She didn't do that. Maggie did
somebody else
not
put
do
them
that.
there. Somebody else put
Yeah.
them there.
I knew at that point that wasn't her.
But
And
they're
I
on the
knew at
floor.
that
Were they
point,
folded or they just like thrown on the floor?
no, they were like spread out, the pants, they were
Oh,
spread out. They were in the middle of the doorway.
that's
And the
odd.
pants were spread out in the middle of the doorway. And then it was the pair of underwear, and I didn't see the underwear right away until I picked them up.
Almost like
But
they would lay out clothes for like a kid the night before or something. Like,
exactly,
yeah, something like
what,
that.
the pants, the underwear and the shirt or the socks or whatever, like that.
I know
But it
you
was in the middle.
testified too that that was unusual because Maggie usually did not wear underwear to sleep in.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so
And
what else is in the laundry room is going on there? I mean, you got that laying out there. Um, was the laundry, could you tell, was laundry done since you were last there? Was there?
I had done some laundry that Friday, and on top of Paul's laundry. But
Yeah.
but I had put the towels. There were some towels that were going to Edisto that were at Moselle, and I had taken care of that. And I had taken care of a few other. It wasn't a lot of laundry. It was just like little things. But I made sure I took care of all four of them towels because she was going to take them back to Edisto. It's like big beach towels. And then I put them next to the stack of towels that we used around the house. There was another stack, and I hung up the T-shirt in the laundry room that had come out of the dryer as well. And the rest, it was just whatever little bit of dirty clothes that was in the laundry room, which wasn't much at
Was all
that
this stuff
point.
still there? Was all this stuff the same as you left it?
Yeah, for the
Okay.
most part, yes.
Okay.
I didn't really my at that point. The only thing that I remember was concentrate. I was concentrating. I was like, looking at the PJs. I'm like, what the heck happened here? And then once I saw the PJs, I turned around and I said, well, I wonder what's in the refrigerator, So I opened the refrigerator and I see the pots in there with the lids.
Yeah.
And I was like, who the heck did this? Because, it was a glass and you're going to put a metal pot, with a lid in the refrigerator. That was not normal for them.
So
That was not normal at all.
you're thinking things are off. At what point does your mindset change that you start to think maybe Alec Murdaugh could have had something to do with it?
I didn't, at that point, I still didn't.
Like, what was your aha moment that you're like, huh?
I was just confused. It was confusing to me that the pots had been put up, that Maggie's PJs were laying in the middle of the doorway. And then when I went to the bathroom, that there was items in front of the shower, the pants, the damp towel, the puddle, and then Maggie's small pile of clothes that she had been wearing the day before, right there by the tub. Because Maggie took baths. She didn't take take showers. Alec is the one that took showers. But it didn't really dawn on me at that time because I think I was still trying to process everything. I don't know how to explain it.
No,
It did not dawn on me until after I can't even remember once videos started coming out and all that about people talking and saying stuff or whatever. I remember I was like, you know what? That was not normal, or this is normal. But it's like, I guess for the first few weeks, I didn't really think about it or think that I had done anything wrong or think that Alec had done anything wrong. I believed Alec was innocent, that somebody else had done it. At that point, I did believe that.
And what changed your mind?
When they released Officer Green's body cam video, and he was talking to Alec, and then for some reason he turned and faced Alec's Suburban, and it was just a glimpse. It's just like I don't even know how long it was, but I remember he must have turned his body over and faced Alec's truck, and I saw one of the towels on the seat. And that's when I was like, I told my husband, I said, go back. And when my husband went back, I looked at the towel in there. I kind of like paused it right there. And I said, oh my God, I said, he did it.
Why is that towel being in the car? Like, explain why that is.
I mean, that to me, that represented that he was in the laundry room, could have possibly set up her PJs on the floor, and that he probably wiped himself off with that towel, grabbed the towel in a rush, because, they were talking about he had taken so many steps and he was walking around, all of a sudden he had a burst of energy from what they called it, and he had all them steps. On his phone.
That's from, just so people know, that is from the phone records showing the steps.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. And they had already put that out. And I was like, oh my God. I said, he did it. I said, he did it. And that soon after I saw the towel, just little things started coming back. And it's like, things that he was doing that when I sat down, once everything settled and I got a chance to literally sit down and think about things, I remembered, certain details, and I was like, wait a minute, I should have known. But I think at that point I was still in shock. I couldn't believe that.
Well, hard to imagine, because you knew that you saw the loving way Alec was with Paul and Maggie. So to get to the level of the way they were brutally murdered from someone who you saw in only loving interactions, for your mind to get there, that's a really difficult leap for someone.
Yeah. And Miss Fran can explain to you, even in the beginning when I was trying to explain things to her, Miss Fran can tell you, the details started coming out, and I was like, Miss Fran, this doesn't make sense. This and this and this. And we would sit down, and I would talk to my husband. And one thing my husband always told me, he's like, you need to prepare yourself. You need to prepare yourself. I guess he kind of already had put two and two together, but because of the close relationship that I had with the family, I don't think he wanted to put that on me,
Could Alec have
or
taken the towel because he was in the house, he says, and he leaves to go to his mom's house. Could he have taken the towel with him then?
oh yeah, I believe the
Good.
towel. I just think that the towel in the truck was kind of odd,
Because why bring a
but it was.
towel unless you need something, like he's not carrying a towel around in his truck all the
Mhm.
time. Yeah.
And
And you
then
had just
T-shirt he had
folded
on
it
was
the day
special. Yeah.
you had just folded it the day before.
Yeah.
yeah, I had them stacked. I had them stacked up on the shelf in the laundry room, ready to go. Yeah.
Well,
So
I know in your book you're going to outline, you have some theories about how this all went down. Um, but can you tell us, do you think that this was a solo act, or do you think that maybe some other people may have been involved?
Okay, Miss Fran.
Yes, ma'am. What? No, Blanca goes pretty deep into that, and her reasoning for that. I
If you don't want to, if you don't want to reveal, you don't have to.
but
I just think that everyone that's talked with Blanca pretty much knows that she feels there was a person or other persons that had to have helped Alec.
But my theory is based on things that I saw the day on my way to Moselle, right after leaving Alex, and it was just I can't get it out. I can't reason with what they explained. I just can't. It
the
doesn't
way
make
it went
sense
down,
to
you
me.
mean the way the prosecution say it went down, you can't reason with that. That's what you're saying. Yeah.
It's not. It just doesn't. They just need to. They would have to explain that. And I think a lot of people are gonna. I think a lot of people are gonna probably say the same thing, that they're gonna have to explain, go into more detail, because there was something off. I'm gonna say it in a way that I don't say that I really don't. That family is very well known in Hampton County. Well, not only in Hampton County, in Colleton County, in Beaufort County, all over the state. But this is their territory or their home, Colleton, Beaufort, and so forth. When you when something happens, especially to a family like theirs that is very well known in the law enforcement community, you would think that somebody would help you, if you ask for help. There's some things that just don't make sense to me. And knowing the family, knowing the routine, knowing their basically knowing their routine, knowing the family, knowing how law enforcement is or was, or treated them. That part just does not make sense. And it
Well, you
was,
got to excuse me, I'm sorry. You got to remember, and I don't think people are aware that Blanca is a trained special investigator.
That's very
And
important
she
for the story.
earned-
Sure. Yeah.
So Anne was trained actually in Colorado.
In the Army.
So
right?
she's had, yes, extensive training,
no,
special
sir. This was
investigations.
for the Federal Bureau of Prisons.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Mhm.
So she has this experience I'm sure you noted that when she first came to the home to Moselle, first she was just automatically looking at the tire tracks. Who would do that other than a special investigator? I mean, she innately had these skills walking into the home that morning. That other folks would probably second guess or not look at as specifically as Blanca. And Matt, I'll go as far as to say that Blanca was probably more trained than some of the officers on the scene.
Wow. When they interviewed you, I don't know how long they interviewed you, how many times they interviewed you, but how deep into your theories or what you saw did they go?
They
Don't have to take a quick pause. I'm sorry. My daughter's lighting up my phone.
Okay.
okay.
Okay, go. Yeah. So, yeah. Do you think they took you as serious as they should have? Did they at all?
They didn't. They didn't.
So you tried to give them information at times, and they would kind of be like, "Well, you're a
I did.
housekeeper," kind of thing.
I didn't have the how can I say it politely? I think in their eyes, I did not have as much education as some of the people that were there.
So they looked at
I
you
didn't.
as like, "Oh, she's the Spanish housekeeper."
Bingo.
I had to be so
Yeah,
rude, but
I think
right.
they were
Bingo.
paying more attention to the law degrees than they were to the housekeeper at that point. They were more interested in how close of a relationship, the law degrees had with Alec. I'm not using names and I'm not using the word, but I think at that point they were more. There were so many around, but I think where they failed was when they didn't ask, how long has it been since you've been out here to Moselle? When was the last time you interacted with Maggie?
Oh,
You know,
you mean they didn't ask you these questions?
no. I'm not talking about me.
Oh.
I'm talking about when they were walking around being escorted, being followed while they were doing their investigation. I think that that should have been some of the questions that were asked is when was the last time you spoke to Maggie? When did you see Maggie last? When were you at Moselle last? What were their habits? What were their concerns? It's like they didn't, I was irrelevant, I guess. They didn't, and you could see it when I testified in court, where, there was a lot of gasping and stuff because some of the things that I said, I guess they never really bothered to ask me.
So you're going to tell me that you went on the stand and they didn't interview you numerous times for hours and hours. They just call you up and say you're going to go on the stand, and that's about it.
The first time was about between, I guess, a week and a half after the murders or something. I had one of the rookiest agents come and talk to me, and we were already staying at Moselle, and Deputy Rutland came. She didn't really say much. It was mainly the sled guy asking questions, just basic questions.
Have we asked you more questions today than they asked you in the entire investigation? Probably.
I mean, I could give them questions that they should have asked me from the beginning, but they didn't. I just felt like I was overlooked, and that
they
it
saw
was
her as irrelevant. almost to the point of rudeness.
And
And you're
it
the
wasn't,
closest one to the victims.
Knew their habits,
Knew
their
their habits.
schedule, all of that.
I'd seen them less than 24 hours, way less than 24 hours before. That is just insane to me. That
I
sucks.
wasn't important. I wasn't important at that point. The important ones were walking around. It was, his colleagues. Those were the important ones. His family.
Even after he's arrested, I mean, even after they arrest him, they don't come to you at that point.
I talked to them. Don't get me wrong. I did talk to them.
Right. But just not.
But it was not. It was just basically they would come and ask me questions. I guess when they found, now when I look back, it's like when they would find out certain information, or they were looking into some things and they would ask me, well, did you see this? They did ask me a few questions. There was an issue with the audio when I first heard the kennel recording. And I know there was some that I was confused about that. The audio was not very good when I first heard it. So it kind of like the echo kind of sounded like there was somebody else there. So that's why I was unable to, give him, I wasn't able to tell him who I really heard. I knew it was Maggie and I knew it was Paul, but because of the echo and because the one thing that I noticed was the water was running. You could hear the hose, you could hear the water running. And I do remember asking, but I still, like I said, there was an echo in the way that the audio was presented to me. So I did go up to the SLED office in Columbia that was in January. It was Martin Luther King Day when I went to SLED, and I finally heard the recording. And I finally, did acknowledge that was Alex in the background, because there was no echoing at that point. It was just clear.
They cleaned it up.
Yes, it was just clear sound, everything. And it was a different system, of course. So it was a lot easier to hear. But even though I questioned, the water hose was running.
And why is that significant? Or is it?
Because everybody focused on the yellow hose, and it wasn't the yellow hose to me. It was the one by the chicken coop that was running.
That he could have used to clean up.
Mm-hmm. The hose that was running, if you hear the kennel video, the water that you hear running, that's not the yellow hose or the green hose or whatever, the one that was stretched out. That's the other hose. That's the hose that was on this side. That wasn't the hose over here.
Well, how do you think you could tell which hose it was?
The water pressure when you come out and you have a nozzle at the end, if you let it go, it'll start flinging around and making that clinging noise, or it would have been beaten up because it had one of them pressurized nozzles at the end. Whereas when you hear the kennel video, the water's just running constantly. And you don't hear no clinging, no nothing in the background. And the dogs don't appear to be wet.
I asked you a bit ago, or I mentioned it about vehicles, and your eyes kind of were like, there's something interesting there. Because there's plenty of vehicles, plenty of trucks, plenty of like utility vehicles that they would go out and do, hunt pigs and whatever. So there was obviously something when I said that made you pause. Do you want to get into what that is or was?
Fran's shaking her head no.
Okay, that's in the book.
We'll leave that one for.
All right.
Okay. Yes.
But there is something about the vehicles in the book that is pertinent to the whole case. Can I say that much?
Yes.
Probably.
Okay.
And it's probably gonna make some people.
Can we hide in your basement for a few days?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Okay, so when does the book come out? When we can find this stuff out?
The first week, right now from the publisher, we're looking at the first week in November.
First week in November. That's soon.
Really?
Yeah. The book is Within the House of Murdaugh, Amid a Unique Friendship Blanca and Maggie.
I just briefly want to touch on it. We know that there's this Hulu series coming out next week. What's the name of it? Murdaugh.
Oh, the Murdaugh Death in the Family.
Yes, it's
Death in the Family.
And
more
I
nice.
know that you were.
Yeah.
Oh, it's out today,
I think
or was
so,
it?
isn't it?
No, it's
Tomorrow.
As we're
Tomorrow.
recording,
Tomorrow.
as we're
As we're
recording
recording
tomorrow.
tomorrow.
As we're recording tomorrow. And well, yeah, I actually got a preview and got to watch it. And I was really struck by the scenes. Definitely Moselle looked exactly like it looked in pictures to me. And also Maggie's clothing choices. I'd seen some pictures of her on social media and stuff, and that also seemed to be spot on. Can you tell us a little bit about your consulting on this series?
I was asked if I would help them get the set. What is she? The co-producer, Erin Carr.
Aaron Carr.
Yes. She wanted to know if I would assist in helping them make the home that they were actually building be as close to what Moselle looked like, because she said that a lot of the photographs that were out of Moselle, from Moselle, that did not reflect what the home really looked like.
Especially the
And
interior.
yeah, the interior. So we had lunch. We actually had lunch, and we talked for a little bit, and she was very interested to know if I would, help her. Because she was the one that was in charge of the set, getting the home. She wanted to get it just as close as she could to what it looked like. So I told her yes, that I would help, and through she would contact me, either text message, if she needed information, or she wanted to know, certain things, or how to, even as far as the color of their eyes, stuff like that. She would contact me. What kind of pajamas? What did the pajamas look like? As far as where the decorations. At that point, there was no pictures. So what I did is I actually drew 2 diagrams, just out of memory. I just drew 2 diagrams. One was of the living room, how the living room was set up, the entrance, and then the master bedroom. And I remember because I didn't have actual photographs of I remember going, and I remember seeing the stuff on auction when they were showing the items that were there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I actually took the time to screenshot a lot of the photographs that I saw with the items, and I was actually putting arrows. This went on this wall. This went on this wall. This was over here. This was in this room, and so forth, and kind of giving her ideas of where everything went. In the bedding, I did have like the guest bedroom, because when she was decorating and she was in Edisto, if the lady would come over to put the curtains up or whatever, Maggie would be like, "Can you please send me pictures?" Because Alex has no idea what he's talking about. Because Alex would tell her it was a black color. She's like, "The curtains were not supposed to be black. They're supposed to be brown." So that's one of the reasons that I had pictures on there. I still have pictures from what it looked like, some pictures of what it looked like in 2013 compared to what it looked like in 2021, when Maggie was, when Maggie and Paul were killed. And that's how they got the set. I believe that's, then I did contribute a lot to making the house and look, more authentic.
Is there a fear you have when a series comes out that's going to be about 2 people or 3 people that you loved and cared about? Is there a fear you have on how they will be characterized?
I think I have an idea of how they're going to be characterized. I just want people to get an understanding that not Alec was not bad all the time. Alec had, and I think I discussed this with Miss Fran, and I'm not trying to reason, and I'm not trying to make him out to be a saint, because I know he's not.
Right.
But Alex did help people, and perhaps he did ask for favors afterwards, but some people he did not ask favors of. He just did things for people. And I think there was a lot of conflict and a lot of hurt from people, when they found out what he was doing. So, I have some good memories of Alec and Maggie and the boys when I was there. They were a very loving family. I will say this one thing about Paul, and that can kind of, when I first started there, remember I told you that Miss Gloria always told me to take care of Paul.
That's
One of
Gloria
the
Satterfield
main,
you're talking about, yeah.
Miss Gloria Satterfield, yes. Miss Gloria told me to look out for my boy. Look out for my boy. If I'm not here, look out for my boy. So one of the things that I learned how to do, and I would do it, that was the first thing that I would do when I would walk in the house, was go to the master bedroom. Alec was working at regular hours. Don't get me wrong. I didn't walk in on, Maggie or Alec or whatever. I wasn't rude. But once I would go through the door, I remember I would walk in, and it was part of my routine. The very first thing that I did is I would have to put the twin mattress that was at the foot of their bed under the bed, because Paul didn't sleep in the room. He slept at the foot of the bed on a twin mattress until he got a little bit older. And Paul would always make an excuse if he would go to a friend's house to stay over or whatever, or camp or whatever. In the middle of the night, Paul would call his mom and his dad to come and get him. He was just, he wasn't I can't say he was scary, but it was like, he didn't like being away from them. And he slept in the room up until, I guess, 11, 12, maybe a little bit older. But he used to, the main thing that I would have to do when I would walk in is if Miss Gloria wasn't there, I would literally go in the room, fold the blankets, and push the twin mattress with the blankets on top, push it under the master bed, and so that nobody knew that he was scared to sleep in his room by himself. So he was, I saw his fears. I saw his, I saw a young boy, a normal, kid that was scared. And that was a good memory of Paul. He was a little boy. He was a little kid. And he still was a little kid at heart, even though he had, a lapse in judgment. But he was still a kid.
Blanca,
and I know,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
and I know my kid, everybody tries to say, your kids, your kids. There's a lot of people out here that to include me, my kids aren't perfect. The kids do stuff. Kids are kids. And that should not take away from the parent. That should never take away from your friendships. If you have a friend, I think if you're a true friendship should come through thick and thin, no matter what people say, no matter what, a true friendship should really shine through any kind of adversity. And I think people forgot that when it came down to Maggie after the boat accident, and they abandoned her. And I want to apologize, I guess, because some people feel that, to the ones that felt that I kind of went in and took that friendship away, or that she thought of me of, something else other than, what people perceive me as. And I do, I'm sorry. I didn't ask to fall into that role. I just listened. You know, I saw her cry. I heard her. I listened to what she had to say, not only her, but with Paul. And I'm sorry if you felt that I took somebody's place. That was never my intention when I went there. I never intended to take anybody's place, and I never intended to get as close as I did to her, to get as close as I did to Paul. And no, I'm sorry if I hurt, you know, people's feelings with regard to that. I really am. But I don't think that I would turn my back on a friend just because something happened. You don't, it's not up to us to judge people. And that's just the way I feel. And
That
I hope people understand.
well, you certainly you're expressing love and genuineness, and that is very important when you went through a lot was on your plate, and you went silent for a long time. You didn't come out of the gate selling books, doing interviews with 2020, nothing. You just processed, took some time, decided what was right for you, what was the right time for you. You also wanted to give Maggie a voice, which hasn't been done as far as I know, really. And Paul a voice other than this monster.
The bad boy image.
And rarely is somebody 100% monster or 100% great. So it is, and it was great to have spoken to you. And I think that from what I can tell, and I haven't read the whole book yet or anything, you're doing a solid for your friends. So
and I think I'm thankful to Miss Kennedy for Maggie's mother, because that was the first, one of the things that she told me when one of the last times that we were at Moselle together. She had just been given the news about what had happened with Alec and the roadside shooting. And I remember when she turned to me, because the whole time that we were there, she held my hand. And once she got the news or whatever, and that person walked away, Miss Kennedy told me, Blanca, don't turn any offers away. He said, you tell my Maggie story. Only, he said,
Wow.
I know you would. He said,
That means something
don't.
that they trusted you to tell.
She said, if anybody can tell how she was,
story.
it's gonna be you. He said, because you were here more than we were. He said, we weren't here. You were here every day. He says, you know. He says, you probably know a lot more than we do, because she didn't include her parents in a lot of things because she didn't want them to worry. But hearing her say that, and it took me a while. I think I had to journal. I did a lot of journaling. I did a lot of writing. I did a lot of crying. There were so many times I wanted to pick up the phone and call her. You know, sometimes I'd stand in my window and I'd be like, oh my gosh, you never guess what happened. I didn't have that anymore. I didn't have my gossip person, you know, to go to. I didn't have my, you know, just the jokester anymore. So
the
I
book
think
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think Miss Kennedy's blessing wrapped with, you know, wanting to make sure that people actually got to see the other side of what she was truly like, to see that side of her that nobody has really talked about.
No.
And
No.
that,
Fran,
yeah.
Blanca, thank you. Within the House of Murdaugh, amid a unique friendship, Blanca and Maggie, and you said it's coming out soon. And
Very soon.
where will they find it? Or is there a special site or anything, or just wherever you get your stuff?
Well, of course, we'll be on Amazon,
Okay.
Barnes and Noble,
The
places
usuals.
like that. But we also have our website that we've just put together, House of Murdaugh, and you'll be able to go there and order it directly.
All right. Thank you guys very much. Really, really appreciate you spending
Thank
a lot
you
of
very
time with
much.
us.
We'll
Thank
put a
you.
link
you.
on our Facebook page
Yep.
to the book so
Yes.
people can check
Thank
it out.
you.
And keep in touch.
Thank you.
Good luck with everything.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
It's
guys.
been a
Thank you.
pleasure.
Thanks.
We enjoyed it. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night. So it was nice having Blanca sit down with us. It was a long interview, so we broke it up in a couple of segments, and you can catch it on the YouTube channel if you want to hear everything, because it's pretty much unedited on YouTube. We just shorten it for your listening pleasure on the audio podcast. We're part of the Evergreen Podcast Company, and please support our sponsors. But, I also want to say that there's been some feedback and some pushback.
Oh my gosh, we had so many. I think it's our most viewed post in a while. I think there's like 250,000, almost 250,000 people who have viewed this post, and
The Blanca post.
the Blanca post with the last episode. A ton of comments and reaction, mostly favorable. People are excited to read the book because it's kind of an untold perspective. A few kind of ones that maybe weren't favorable. A few people had questions about Blanca selling the clothing on Poshmark. If you remember the jailhouse tapes where Alec Murdaugh was talking to Buster, he talks about, hey, why is this woman selling all these clothing? And so Fran had responded to one of the co-author had responded to one of those comments on Facebook, basically saying that was what she was advised to do by Alec at the time. She was still not believing that Alec Murdaugh was guilty, and she was, I think, caretaking the Moselle property, and so she was just doing as she was told. There was also some questions about a case that she was like the translator for, and maybe her involvement in that. Fran says that they do discuss both of those things in the book, clear that up. A few other people had questions about how close they really were. I mean, I don't know. When I watched the trial, I thought she was the person who gave Maggie a voice, along with Maggie's sister. She did as well. But what Blanca said in the interview was, after the boat crash, many of people shunned her. So she probably did get much closer to Blanca after the boat wreck.
Yeah, well, they talked about that a little bit in the trial, that's why she was in Ediso a lot.
Right.
Because she felt like
shunned
and blackballed, if you will, or whatever, in Hampton. And again, people, some of the negative would be that she was saying positive things about Paul and
Actually,
Alec.
a lot of people were like, "We're so glad that they're getting more dimension. That that all of a sudden we're seeing that who Paul maybe really was, instead of just this Timmy character that we've seen on different shows."
Most people aren't one-dimensional, all evil or all good. Some people are a large percentage of evil, but there's and maybe a great percentage of negative. But when you are in the family and you're close to them, you're close to them. I mean,
and there were some comments about Maggie in that respect too. A lot of people were saying they were glad that somebody is speaking about her and kind of giving her that kind of voice that she no longer has. A few people said, no, we don't think maybe she was that nice. I don't know. I mean, there was a lady who came forward who talked about her sister being in a play group with her and spoke very negatively that Maggie was snobby or those sort of things. But I'm glad that there is someone who is coming forward and talking about her more than just a very superficial relationship.
And you can judge for yourself. That's why we put the people on.
It's up to our listeners to form their own conclusion.
And as always, we're grateful, friend.